Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. As is our custom at this time, I'm going to ask Officer Ott, who is here to represent all the public service people in Cobb County, if he would please come forward and we'd all rise. Officer Ott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for those of you that are here for the first time, let me give you a little insight on how we're going to conduct the meeting today. The first thing that we will concern ourselves with is the held cases. Well, actually, we're not going to do that either. We're going to concern ourselves with the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has considered, but our professional, our engineering, and staff have also reviewed. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases. So as we go forward, Mr. John Peterson, our head zoning administrator, will read these into the record. And as he does, the applicant, he or she, will identify themselves by raising their hand. Likewise, if we have anybody here in opposition to any of these particular cases, they will also identify themselves by raising their hand. If we do have comments or we get into our regular agenda, at that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make his presentation known to this board, and likewise and collectively the opposition will be able to make a 10-minute presentation to make their opposition known to this board. So if you have more than one speaker, just realize the fact that you only have a 10-minute period. With that said, I'm going to ask Mr. Peterson if he has any special announcements. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is one case on today's printed agenda, which has been continued by the staff and will not be heard today. That's variance case V89, Justin and Nicole Dumbrow. That case has been continued until the December 11th, 2019 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing, so V89 will not be heard today. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, Board, there is one case on today's consent which needs to be continued. That's variance case V109, Julietta Isa. We found some other variances that need to be advertised, so we would ask the board to continue that case.
Okay, with that, I believe that case is Ms. Williams?
Yes, I make a motion, we continue that for further advertisement.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, we got a second. No other comments. Call for the vote. Okay, we're going to vote 5-0 to continue case B109, which will be heard at our next scheduled meeting. All right, John, what else do you have?
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Let's talk about the cell phones too, John.
Oh, okay. I would like to ask people in today's audience, if you have a cell phone, please turn the volume off on your cell phones. Ringing does interfere with the broadcast and presentations, so please turn your cell phones off. And before I read the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, the commissioner for District 1 would like to pull his cases off the consent agenda. That would be variance case V102, Keith Smalley, and variance case V108, Julia Cotiza. So those cases will be pulled off consent and put on to the regular agenda.
Okay.
Okay. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Let's go right in. 100, John.
Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for November 13, 2019. Variance case V100, Tatiana Quintero requests a variance to 1, reduce the front setback from required 40 feet to 15 feet, which is existing. 2, to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 14 feet, which is existing. 3, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and non-treated surface. And number 4, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,020 square foot one-story frame building from required 100 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the south property line, and the 79 feet adjacent to the east property line, and the 65 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lots 1033 and 1034 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Robinson Road, east of Scottish Mill Run. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, no residential use of the accessory structure without an approved temporary land use permit. Number two, no commercial use of the property except as provided in the customary home occupation zoning code section. And three, no business signage on the property. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed? V100?
All right, so we've got four.
Four. So we'll pull that one off consent, Mr. Chairman. It's got 4 people opposed, and we'll just put it in its regular order.
All right, we'll pull V100. Here it is. It comes up in its regular numeric order.
Okay. Variance case V103, May Brightwell requests a variance to reduce the front setback adjacent to Post Oak Street Road from required 50 feet to 44 feet in land lot 543 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Jennifer Court and on the north side of Post Oak Street Road, west of Johnson's Ferry Road. And staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V103? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V104, Jacob Rutledge requests a variance to number one, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,840 square foot proposed shop and shed from required 100 feet to 40 feet adjacent to the east property line and to 93 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number two, allow an accessory structure, which is an approximately 1,840 square foot proposed shop and shed to be to the side of the principal building. And three, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot in land lot 575 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Reese Road, east of Old Villa Rickle Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, traffic comments. Number two, development inspection comments. And number three, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V104? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V105, Darren Marinko and Michelle Marinko request a variance to reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 705 square foot one-story brick garage from required 5 feet to 5 feet, from required 100 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the west property line, to 88 feet adjacent to the north property line, and to 68 feet adjacent to the east property line in land lot 458 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Davis Road, east of Ashmore Hall Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, development inspections comments, and number two, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V105? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V106, Assurant Fence requests a variance to allow, to increase the allowable fence height from a maximum of 8 feet to 10 feet in land lots 942 and 943 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Interstate North Circle, northwest of Windy Ridge Parkway, and northeast of Interstate 75. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V106? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V107, Darren Brooks and Sherry Young request a variance to one, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 978 square foot proposed garage for required 100 feet to 24 feet adjacent to the south property line, to 23 feet adjacent to the west property line, and to 80 feet adjacent to the north property line. Number two, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,350 square foot one-story frame building from required 100 feet to 10 feet adjacent to the north property line. And three, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot in land lot 715 of the 19th district. The property is located at the western terminus of Curtis Road, west of Powder Springs Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, development inspections comments, and number two, stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V107? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V109, we continued. So that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Okay, it's back to this board for discussion with the exception of V109, V102, V108, and V100. I'll entertain a motion for approval or any comments from any of my fellow members. Not hearing comments, I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve variance 103, 104, 105, 106, and 107 as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion, got a second. Not hearing any more comments, we'll call for the vote. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to approve that with a 5-0 vote. If you were lucky enough to be on the consent agenda, your business is complete with us for today. Now, you're welcome to stay, and you're welcome to leave. If you leave, please leave quietly, and we'll continue on with our business. Thank you, and stay warm. All right, John, tell me where I am.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V100, Ana Quintero requests a variance to reduce the front setback from required 40 feet to 15 feet, which is existing. Number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 14 feet, which is existing. Number 3, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface. And number 4, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for approximately 1,020 square foot one-story frame building, required 100 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the south property line, to 79 feet adjacent to the east property line, and to 65 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lots 1033 and 1034 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Robinson Road, east of Scottish Mill Run. The applicant is present. Earlier, there were 4 people here opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Anybody that's going to give a comment today, please come forward. We'll get you all sworn in at one time. All right, young lady, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name.
My name is Tatiana Quintero.
Okay, young lady, tell us what you want.
I was trying to put our property that we purchased not too long ago up to date with codes and differences, and we've started to find a lot of gaps in different things that weren't updated as they should have. So we started to looking into repairing and trying to fix things, and then we found out that there is what used to be the shed was converted into like a 2-room and mini area, like living area. But not everything was connected, so we had to get other approvals for drainage for a bathroom that's in there and things like that. And we got the permit from environmental health to complete that. But then as we move forward, we had found out that there's other things that we need to do. And then this variance was because the corner of the shed where when we replaced the roof, our neighbors noticed that we replaced that, and they have a problem with the way that it was done, and we haven't been able to clarify between us, but we needed the variance for the shed to continue to be there, or we had a choice to tear it down.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us about it? You're
No.
asking for 4 variances. Is there any other variances you want to address or anything, ma'am?
The entryway, since we purchased it, it's always been gravel. It's got about, I want to say 15 feet in the front that is paved, but we were made aware that it should be around 50 at least, if you guys would permit us to do that, for it to be made concrete or cemented so that it is safer or up to code if you guys allow it. And then I don't know what it means for the 14 feet or the 15 feet. variances. I don't know what those two mean. I know
Okay.
what the one means to the 0, but that's where the corner of the shed makeshift home office is.
Let me just explain this to our audience here and our audience at home. But when anybody comes in for a variance, our staff goes through the property, and if they see other problems, they bring that to your attention and put it on the thing. That way, or put it on our books, that way we can get it all straightened out at one time. So that's why other variances are there that you may or may not be aware of.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, going back to the little building, anything else you want to tell us about that?
No, sir.
Okay, anything else you'd like to tell us about the property?
No, sir.
Okay, young lady, if you would, just have a seat, and next we'll hear from the opposition.
Thank you.
Thank you. First speaker from the opposition, please come on up. Sure.
I have some pictures.
Ma'am,
That I-
before we get started, let me get you to identify yourself, please, first.
Ask you what?
Name first.
Peggy Randall.
Okay, the young lady next to you, let's get her identified.
Her daughter, Priscilla Randall Spino.
Okay? Now go ahead and start telling us what you want to tell
Okay,
us.
I own the abutting property
Okay?
and the shed. I have some pictures that,
As well as the
If you
survey.
just give him the.
as well as a survey of the property that,
If you
Sir.
just give it to this man here, he can put it up on a screen.
She can't hear.
I just picked up on that, yeah.
what did he say?
I said she doesn't. He said picked up on
All right, ma'am, tell us what we're looking at. Can you see it up on that
Okay,
screen?
that is the shed or office that they built,
Uh-huh,
which is supposed to, I understood it to be on the foundation that was there previously, but it's a lot bigger. Like it's 5 by 10, and it was supposed to be grandfathered in. It's what she said, the reason she didn't have to get the permits. And then we talked to the agency, the zoning committee, because we thought it was too close to the property line. You can see where the survey post is.
yes, ma'am.
And they came out and they had some problems with the building, that it had not been permitted at all. And so that's when they started trying to bring it up to code. And actually, the property that they're talking about, see, my property is where they're parking. And
Say that again, ma'am, I didn't
their
know.
property is where they're parking on my property.
Okay,
All that in front of the shed, you can see where the property line is. All that property that they're talking about, gravel and cement, is my property.
okay, I can.
But I guess we're gonna have to go to court, because I do have the, all the paperwork,
Yeah, is there any other, on the pictures, do you want to show us anything else on the pictures? Because then I'm going to put the survey up, how we can see
In the
what you're
picture.
talking about.
In the picture he's just removing, I wanted you to notice the fence is angled a little bit toward the corner of the new dwelling, and you can see that the fence has been, I don't know when or by who, removed and rolled up. It's piled up against the first post. I asked him if he could zoom in on that for you.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
I can see it.
And we can show you on the survey as well.
Well, that's the next thing we're going to put up. Let's put the survey up. Do you have a copy of the survey?
I want to see
I
the
tell you,
picture.
Cornelius, can you take the book, put our survey
Let
up
me see the
to the
other
book?
picture.
Thank you.
Can you see the other pictures? I want to see the other picture.
Oh, do we have other pictures?
Yeah. Corky, that other picture, can you show it?
There's one behind that one.
Yeah, I think it's behind that one. Yeah.
I have title insurance and everything else on this property.
All right, tell me what I'm looking at, man. Can you
Okay.
describe what I'm looking
That
at?
is, there's a telephone pole this way,
Behind the photographer.
Show
just
us
behind
behind
the
the-
photographer.
Let me
And
give you a
it-
pointer and give us, and point to the telephone pole how everybody can see it.
You want me to point it there? or-
The telephone pole is behind the photographer. It's not in this picture. It's in a different picture.
You can see the first picture.
Well, let's, all right.
You can
if-
see that the
if-
first picture that you saw where the property line was behind this shed, and it goes down, there's a telephone pole here, and that property line goes down like this and back up, all the
Alright.
way up their driveway side.
Okay, we can only identify what's in the picture, so the telephone pole is not in the picture, so we don't talk about telephone pole. What else do you want to point out in the
Can we
picture?
change the picture then?
Sure, sure.
This shows a little bit closer. Right there, there's a bush right there by the telephone pole. Flip that picture,
All that junk is on our property.
yeah.
Okay, tell us what we're
There's the
looking at.
property line right there on the survey, which goes almost in front of her house. It's like this toward that shed, but it goes actually down there. You can see from the back,
This is the opposite end of her structure.
Let's, okay,
thought I had one that was a little closer, but you can see where it actually meets that building.
well, can you tell us, describe what we're looking at, ma'am?
What do you want me to do?
Say again what you
Right
just said.
here. It actually crosses right there.
Okay. All right,
I
anything else?
have lots more pictures, but I just tried to pick a couple.
Okay, now let's put the survey up,
That probably
Cornelius.
will bring everything into perspective.
Now, with your pointer and the microphone, point out what you want us to understand on this survey. See the picture up there?
May I aid her in that?
Sure
Being I'm
you-
more
sure you
familiar
can.
with this
Yes,
type
ma'am.
technology, and she has no
That's
idea what's
okay.
even
Yes,
being
ma'am.
shown.
Go right ahead.
Let me do it.
Now, don't move it
Okay.
around. Okay, there you go.
Here is my pointer's not showing. Okay. Here's Robinson Road. My mother owns a property on this side.
Okay?
It's 47 years. She bought the neighbor's property on her passing here 8 years ago. There's a driveway here that accesses Tatiana's property, but you can see our property line. This she owns, as far as we know. And this is your cement thing you're talking to her about. Our only concern is the property line. Our property line goes from the front of Robinson Road across what she's using for a turnaround.
Yes, ma'am. We can all see that, yes.
And the
okay.
telephone pole that she was discussing before is here. And then the property line is here, and then, of course, our remaining property. The shed on its corner is debated between two different survey companies, whether it's 2/10 inside her property line or 5/10 over into ours. But it does not meet a setback. Now, she had an uninhabitable shed that 47 years ago was used for horse tack storage only. And I believe it had a lean-to roof. And now we have one that looks very nice, that's much taller, with a gable roof. And it's supposedly on the same footprint.
Okay.
And they're
ma'am.
wanting to go back to 1962 about the grandfather.
All right, we're kind of running out of time. Is there any other points you want to make? I'd like to get other people up.
Oh,
that
okay,
wanna speak.
I'm sorry.
that's all.
If there's
Okay.
two of us, do we
Just,
get 20 minutes?
Go. All right,
It's totally
anybody, any other speakers wishing to speak, please come forward. Thank you, ladies. Guys, both of you come up at the same time. We'll try to save a little time and let's identify yourselves, please.
Good
first.
afternoon. I'm Ralph Hicks. I live in Princeton Mill.
Mike Isbell, I live in Princeton Mills.
Okay, guys, go right ahead.
Okay. Our issue is not so much the issue of having a home business or an internet business. We don't really have a real issue with that. My general issue is with number 3, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface. This indicates that there may be a possibility of cars coming and going during the day as a business. That's my biggest issue that I have.
What
It should be invisible to the neighbors because this is a completely residential area. There's no businesses around close by. And obviously, we want to keep it that way.
And then my issue as well is part of the variance was to take the backside of both of our properties, a couple of feet of it, to widen the driveway. There's a fence in the.
Wait a minute, say that again. They want to take part of your property? Did I hear you correctly?
So in the,
Yeah, let's put that back up. Cornelius will put that back up. That way everybody can see what we're talking about.
so the fence they have shown here, this is the property line. There's a fence that runs along there, and in that document, they say that it's their fence. I built that fence in 1999 with my dad. I'd be glad to have him come down and talk to you. He's 84, but he can.
Show us again where that fence is.
So you'll see the postmarks here on the document.
Yes,
It does veer just inside the property line. The reason it does is that it met up with the neighborhood property line, or with the neighborhood fence. There's a huge slab of concrete there. You couldn't get a post in next to it, so it came in just inside of it. Part of what is in the original document here, in the plat, it cuts over into that property line.
Okay. All right, guys, anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, sir.
Okay, our time is up, so we thank you very much. Mr. Bryant McDaniel represents the district. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Bryant for discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe I should begin by asking Priscilla and Peggy to come back up if you could, just for a minute. Thanks for your comments. I guess, need some clarification on a couple things. You guys brought up the matter of the driveway being on your property. And to my knowledge, when she bought her home, that driveway was in place. I'm not sure that the whole question of the driveway is not beyond our scope today. Is that right, Mr. Chairman?
We're going to have to get some legal advice, and John, you might want to jump in. I don't see how we can go forward until we get a clear survey
Well, that was my other question.
Yeah, this is a clear survey, and it clearly shows that they're encroaching on somebody else's property. So I guess I'm like Brian, I'm a little stymied. I don't know what we can do. Brian, you're our attorney, and John, you're our administrator. You folks want to jump in and help us?
I guess I'll go first, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
You know, when the presentations were going on, I went back and looked at the aerial photographs, and that driveway has been there, you know, since at least 2000. So I'm not sure if there's are you all saying that they put in recently, the driveway, or has it been in?
No, we're just saying that whoever put the driveway there, the previous owners, obviously, because she's only been there a short time, did it without any consent. And to our knowledge, they also did not apply to the county for any squatters' rights, having, say, improved that bit of our property.
And when I bought it 8 years ago, they gave me the clear title for it. I have title insurance on that property.
Yeah, we're kind of getting out of our jurisdiction here. That's what I'm a little afraid of, Brian.
Yeah, these are questions of fact that we do not have purview over.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
mean, well, first of all, it's on a subject parcel that is not part of this application.
That's
It's not something for this
It's not before us.
board to decide. I mean, it's with some discretion of the board whether or not they want to continue on the issue of the shed, but I mean, that certainly, there are some facts that probably need to be weighed out first.
Yeah.
Also, the shed is so close to my property that it's on it.
Well,
And
see, an expert's got to tell us that. I mean, I can't see it specifically on the pictures. And again, we can only go by the reputation of the surveyor that stamped this. That's what we go by.
well, if
That's a
somebody
le-
could
that's
come
a-
and look at it, then they could
Yeah, sure.
testify.
But that's a legal document to us, so that's all we can do. Brian,
Go ahead.
I don't know if we ought to just continue this case and give this applicant an opportunity to get some legal advice before we go forward. I'm not sure we can,
My question, though, is, about the survey itself, because if this is a legal document and it, from what we understand, it is not encroaching on Ms. Randall's property.
well,
Then
the driveway's clearly,
the driveway is, but the
driveway's
shed,
not
the
an
shed
issue.
is the matter before us, right?
Yeah.
That's
Is it
what I'm
within the
trying to-
setbacks? I'm sorry, is it within,
well, that's
she
where they're-
doesn't
The
have
driveway's
to
not the
have any
issue.
setbacks?
John, they're asking, explain to everybody what they're asking for as far as the shed is concerned.
They are asking for a setback variance on the shed to reduce the setback because it's required to be a certain number of feet off the property line. So they want to come closer to that. And based on what the survey they submitted shows, the shed from foundation up is on their property. However, the overhang is 0.6 of a foot over onto your property for the shed. So the part of the gravel driveway is on your property and the overhang for the shed is on your property, it looks like.
Which could be cut, technically.
They've
you just-
already lopped off the corner.
Yeah.
of
you
the
technically
overhang.
Do that. So, I'm still stymied, Brian.
Does the board need more time to consider the case? I mean, because if it's a matter of the shed and it's, right on the property line, or to me, it seems like we might be ready to go ahead and vote.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the issue, unless I've missed something, the issue is that the shed, according to this, and this survey was August 19th, 2019. It's a current survey. And it shows, and they've removed the overhang, so the structure is in question, the accessory structure. That and the driveway portion of paving is the only
Right.
portion that's through us, and we didn't, anything else that's on their property doesn't pertain to us. It's a private issue between two neighbors, am I not correct? So we could act on the shed and the
It's-
other issues.
It is, and the board could even put conditions on this, that the applicant place all the driveway onto their property,
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
remove the gravel off Ms. Randall's property.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said.
What I would suggest is that if it's approved, that the variance board put a condition that all the driveway be removed and put onto their property, and whatever driveway is on your property that's theirs be taken off, and just restored to grass or something else.
I'm not sure you see what's happening, but they can't get to their parking places without going over our property. So if we remove the gravel from our property that was existing, then they won't have any way to get close to their house. They'll be stranded on the straightaway.
Well, it
They
seems like,
have.
it seems like on here, there's room to kind of go around your property line. It goes more north and then make a right turn.
The telephone pole does not allow that type of
There are
access.
utilities right there that you can't really see.
Well,
They actually have their driveway empties onto their property.
Yeah, but we're getting the hypotheticals, and that's not before us either.
Yeah.
I think these are issues that need to be worked out between the two property owners.
Yes.
There might be some agreement they can come to even whether it's an easement, a purchase of that corner, something, but that's not before this board.
That's not, and
That's,
we
that
can't,
was my point.
we can't determine that. And as Judy has pointed out, and I think Brian is in agreement, we can take care of the shed. We can do that part today.
Right.
And in the motion, as far as the other gentleman talked about of business, we certainly have the right, which we do all the time, to specifically say there is to be no business conducted on the property.
Right.
So that can be handled also. So Brian,
But-
I'm going back.
Well, yeah, so to Mr. Hicks and Mr. Isbell, I wanted to make sure they understood that one of the stipulations is no commercial use of the property except as provided in the customary home occupation zoning code section. So there should not be any traffic generated because of the sewing. I think, Tatiana, you take whatever you do to the post office and mail it, but there's nobody that comes to your property for any purpose. There's no signage promoting a business or anything like that. So that being the case then, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve of case V100 with the stipulations that were cited previously. No residential use of the accessory structure without an approved temporary land use permit, no commercial use of the property except as provided in the customary home occupation zoning code section, no business signage on the property, and the additional one I guess I would want to make sure that we include is that that first 25 feet, or whatever it is that the code requires, of the driveway be a hardened surface.
That's correct. And all staff comments.
The
And-
apron, I think it's called the apron.
The apron.
Okay, I've got a motion, and that also includes no business to be conducted for the property.
Yeah, he said.
That's
that.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we've got a motion. I've got a second. Any other comments before I call for vote? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll call. Oh, comment. Fred, I'm sorry.
Can I just start by asking a question first of the applicant? Yeah. Just very briefly. Are you trying to, you'll have to come up to the microphone. Are you trying to claim any ownership interest whatsoever in your neighbor's property as it's shown on this map?
I am not. We've never put up any of the fences, and we don't plan on moving any of them either.
All right, are you trying to claim any adverse possession or ownership interest as a result of the shed possibly encroaching on your neighbor's property?
No, I am not.
Okay, those are all the questions I have. I would just ask for one additional condition that our action today not be deemed to create any property right in the applicant to the extent that such right is as to the neighbor's property. In that sense.
Okay.
I don't want any
Yeah,
implication. And the council may have a better way of wording that.
I would be careful again, sorry. I would be cautious in steering too far into placing any language onto something other than the parcel at question in this application. However, they certainly could add a condition or stipulation language just saying that it's not the intent of this board to create any sort of resolution to that issue. But
That's fine.
Okay.
It makes, yeah.
All right, well, if you can help us with that language. All right, so, yeah, Mr. Chairman,
All right, so you're going to add
make that motion, yeah, just add
And
that
second is
to it.
okay with that. Now, again, we are not determining who has the right to use the driveway, who does not have the right to use the driveway. All we're sticking to is just what's before us. The rest is a legal matter between you and the applicant. So I want to kind of clear that up and clear the air with that.
We do feel that we have asked a question that hasn't been
Ma'am, you
answered.
can't, I'm sorry, your time is up and you can't speak anymore. I'm sorry, that's just the way the rules are. Any other comments? No other questions? Call for the vote. All right, we're going to approve this with a 5-0 vote with all recommendations and comments to be added in. Okay, thank you. John, let's go to our next one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V101, Vladimir Batalin requests a variance to number 1, reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 5 feet, which is existing. Number 2, allow the accessory structures, which is an existing pool and proposed shed, to be to the side of the principal building and closer to the side street right-of-way line than the principal building. 3, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 875 square foot shed, required 100 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the north property line, to 30 feet adjacent to the west property line, and to 96 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 4, increase the maximum height of a fence to 8 feet in land lot 278 of the 20th District. The property is located on the north and east side of Stony Acres Drive, west of Frank Kirk Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V101?
Wow. Keep your hands up, I'll get a head count.
6? Let the record show there's 6 people here in opposition to variance case V101. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Okay, young lady, if you would, please give us your name, please.
Yes,
first.
sir. It's Jessa Batlin. I'm the spouse.
Say that again, first name.
Jessa Batlin.
Okay.
And I'm Vladimir Batlin.
Okay, go right ahead, tell us.
Go ahead.
Tell us what you want.
Well, we're requesting to be able to allow to keep the shed with the current setbacks that we have it at. We've provided enough documentation today to support what the argument is. We're being told on some level that our property devalues the rest of the neighborhood. So we've gone out and gotten a survey, an appraisal for the building itself, for our property, and the research on the rest of the neighborhood and how our property in fact affects the neighborhood itself. So we're asking for an approval today to keep our sheds in the conditions that it's in now.
And again, looking at the picture, that shed is in the far corner. Is that the shed?
Well, that's actually the concrete slab. That's an old picture. I did
Okay.
bring current pictures if you'd like, and on the survey it does
On the-
show those.
On the picture up there, tell us where the shed is.
Right where that concrete slab where your hand is at, that's where the shed is at.
Okay.
And it fits on that exact slab.
Okay. All right, anything else you want to tell us, ma'am?
I'm sorry, what? Oh, we'd like to get the approval to have the 8-foot fence in one section. Our home sits on a corner lot. It also goes down a hill. We have a boat. We have 2 teenage drivers and then ourselves. And so we felt like the 8-foot fence, it blocks some of the vehicles that we have, the boat we have, and it really provides a lot more privacy for the area. So we are asking for the approval for the fence as well.
Gentlemen, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just, she's doing all the talking.
You just take orders. I know, okay, I
husband.
know what that's like. Anything else you want to tell us, ma'am?
One of I went around to our neighbors and asked whenever code enforcement was called the first time. We were replacing our fence, and only a section could be done at one time. We have quite a bit of responsibilities with 6 kids and 2 businesses, and it just was one of those things where we were trying to go section at a time. It can be a very costly investment to make when you're improving your property. So I went around after code enforcement was called and addressed some of our surrounding neighbors because we weren't sure who was upset, but I wanted to offer the fact that we were making improvements and to see what the problem was. And one of the things that was brought to our attention was that we're devaluing the neighborhood. So we did in fact have that research study for how the shed itself affects the neighborhood as well as how our property affects the neighborhood. So that is one thing that I wanted to address because I do believe it will be brought up by our opposers today.
Okay, anything else, ma'am?
Show the pictures.
Sure, if you don't mind looking at some of the pictures, that would be great.
If you just give it to the young man, we'll put him up there.
Certainly. Would you like to go one at a time? Okay. Would you like me to speak and just?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
speak, sure.
So the first. Is this on? Okay. The first picture that you see is coming down the hill. Our property is located behind the 8-foot fence, as you can see. We have a boat and 4 vehicles behind that fence, and all you can see is the top of my husband's van, which is, what would you call that type of van?
Just the green right there.
It's a taller van, so it does sit a little higher.
Okay.
As a courtesy, we were trying to make it less visible. This would be the view from down in the cul-de-sac from one of the opposers' homes. Just kind of showing the view of what they can see. That vehicle that you see parked on the street is actually at one of our neighbors' homes. Our property starts directly behind that, and the building is off behind those trees. I don't know if you can kind of see the white up in the corner up there. Yep, that's it. This would be another view coming down the street from another opposer's home. The building that you see to the right is actually a home. Our home is past that. I know you can see the roof of my husband's truck down there, so you can't see the building or the shed as you're coming down the street. And this would be a view from another opposer's home at the very top of the street, where our home isn't even visible. You'd have to go completely down the street.
Okay.
Just bringing that up. So here are some pictures of the yard. This would be the building from the back of our home, and it's looking across the pool.
Now, is that your
Sorry?
storage shed there?
Yes, sir, that is it.
Okay.
This would be a picture from the back gate before you exit the gate, showing how the building, we tried to pick colors that would really correlate with the rest of our home so that it was matching in the same white trim, same color as the home. So we've tried to really coordinate it and make it flow more with our property. This is a picture of inside of the building. One of the main reasons that we have it is our son plays on a AAA hockey league, and Georgia is not very predominant for hockey. He actually has to travel all over the Northeast and the Midwest, Dallas, and California. So for us to provide him with success in the level that he's playing at, we had to put a synthetic ice rink in. So that was the main reason for the building. On top of that, we have 6 children and yard equipment. You can only imagine how much stuff we have. We don't even have the full array of our children's items in there. Okay. Another view from the other side of the shed. And just to address why I'm showing this is I know one of the issues was they think that we're running a plumbing business from it, but in fact, all of the materials are in my husband's truck. He's just a one-man show. He does service work. There's no plumbing. This is a view from the exterior of the shed. Another view from the street side so that you can see how it looks and correlates again with our home, how everything matches.
And that's the existing 8-foot fence, am I looking at?
No, sir, that's a 6-foot fence.
6 foot.
The only 8-foot fence is whenever you're going down the street to block our vehicles. We thought it was a courteous to our neighbors so that they wouldn't have to look at all our vehicles in our boat. This is another view from the backside. And this is another view from one of the opposers' homes who sits on the corner of what they're viewing. Now, I also have the Cobb County tax appraisal of all of the homes in the neighborhood. And just based on what the Cobb County appraises our homes at, our appraises for the most value in the neighborhood. It is just based on Cobb County's. Now, our independent appraiser appraised it for $150,000 more than what's there. There's also a letter of opinion within this at the bottom, if you would just come down here. I'm sorry?
I'm not sure that's unique to your situation, but
Okay,
go
fair
ahead,
enough.
present it.
There's really not much more that I can do, but maybe pass around the appraisal so you all have the option to view it if you'd like.
Okay, just give it to that gentleman
Yes,
right
sir.
there.
That paper is the only thing that's not included. That would be included in it as well, which gives the opinion on how the storage shed affects the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we've addressed it all. Do you have any other questions? We just asked for your consideration to be able to,
All
oh,
the
sorry.
And all the neighbors that are adjacent to our property,
Oh, yeah.
none of them have any issues with this shed.
As-
All the people who do have a problem is 5 homes away from our property.
I would actually like to point something else out. One of the neighbors that sits directly behind this shed is in fact here today and touches it, views it every day, has not had any problems. And all of the neighbors surrounding, except for the one that sits on the corner over here, have not opposed our property.
Do you have signatures of support?
Yes, sir,
from
I,
those
I submitted those with the,
Yeah, we've got
yeah.
that.
The opposers obviously didn't sign it.
All of the fence is brand new.
There are quite a few improvements that we've made to the property. We've put in well over $70,000 with a brand-new fence, painting it, the sod that we did, the building itself, the pool. There's been quite a few things that we've done here to try to improve the property, because we don't plan on, our home is paid for. We're not going anywhere. Our children are there. They all attend KSU. We're staying. That was probably the most heartbreaking thing about this opposing, is that our neighbors, we could have just had a conversation instead of it coming to here.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so. Do you have anything else?
You got 30 seconds left.
No, sir, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you would please have a seat, we'll hear
Yes, sir.
from
Do
the
you mind if I
opposition
take the
now.
pictures? Or do you need those?
No, you take them.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, opposition, please come forward. And again, for the purpose of the record, if you would give us your name, please, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Belair. I'm the son of Ed and Elise Belair, who are at 3301 Stony Acres. I'm also here speaking on behalf of Barbara and Hayward Kite and Mr. Bob Burris and Helen Smith. Sorry, let me get some of this out of the way. This is I was born and raised in this neighborhood. My parents have lived there since 1978, as has Miss Kite. Miss Smith has lived in 3 different homes in the neighborhood, and if I could put up on the screen. Just to give you an idea of where everybody is, I will use my pen as a pointer. This is the property in question today. My parents live here at 3301. Mr. and Mrs. Kite live here. Mr. Burris lives right here, and Miss Smith lives right here. Thank you. The issue with regards to value, we haven't seen any of those documents, and we're not really concerned about that. I'm not certain that anybody can actually tell you what the market value is and what that adds, other than what the market actually shows. I'm going to make this a little bit easier. Variance number 2, we're fine with the pool. We're unsure about the proposed shed, but there had previously been a shed there. There was a previous pool there that I played in as a kid. The Traywicks were there, and I believe the Batlins, if I'm saying that correctly, bought their home from the Traywicks, and he was the same age as me when we went to college together as well. So we're kind of unsure about what that shed that they're talking about is going to comprise, but we have no problem there being a pool shed there. That makes total sense. With regards to number 4, the fence, we generally have no problems with the fence. The fence is beautiful. It's much better than the fence that had been there that was 40-something years old. They've done a really good job of that. We don't have any problem with it being 8 feet on that particular side. We are abstaining from the part of where the fence is located. It appears on the plot that was done that there's 7 foot into that neighbor's yard. We're not those neighbors. We got no dog in that fight. So the fence is fine with us. With regards to number 1 and 3, it's a bit unclear as to what they're asking for on number 1. I'm not sure if 1 and 3 are the same exact thing that they're asking for, and I just wanted to try to get some clarification on that so I can let you know what our position is. But I'm going to go to number 3. We oppose this. There was no permitting done on this. There was no inspections done on this. This is an 875 square foot tall sheet metal industrial commercial. I don't know what the terms are. With 2 large commercial overhead doors. There's a sheet metal roof, which you could see through the pictures that the petitioners put up there. You could see them through there. This is just outside the scope of what the neighborhood looks like. This is the picture from Mr. Kite's. This is not from his porch. This is actually just from his land. The porch is about 6 feet high, but you could see that this jumps over the fence. It's very clear there with the sheet metal. Additionally, here's a picture with the old fence. The new fence is beautiful. With the old fence from the road, you can see that it is very high above the fence there. Some of the, thank you so much. This is not architecturally complimentary of the house or the neighborhood. This is a sheet metal sided building. The concrete pad was poured, I think, sometime in 2014. That's what we can kind of devise from the satellite images. This was not an existing pad. I will point you to on August 7th of 2019, somebody from the county went out and spoke to them, and this is in the case comments that are in the file. They spoke to Ms. Batlin, and they said that when they bought the property, there was a building of the same size next to the pool and a pool. That building was not there when they bought the property. What is now at the building currently, or previously was a vegetable garden. The Batlins also had a trampoline and I think a playground set for their kids, which is totally fine. And they said that they put a new one on the same platform a few months ago. This particular building was put up over the course of, I believe, Memorial Day weekend this year. The pad had been sitting there for a couple of years, and the building was put up over the course of that weekend. And it was, I believe that it was complained on June 2nd. This building was not permitted or inspected. The storm wastewater drainage was not inspected. It shows on the plat that there was a wastewater drain there. I crawled through it as a kid. That was a really bad idea, but I did that. I believe that has been pulled out and rerouted by the Batlins, the plumbing company. They did that, but that's the surveyors taking their word for that. We don't know what was done there. I'm sure it was done fine, but we don't know that. On the plat, it says that they replaced it. This could cause septic problems. We're all on the septic system here. We don't know if the concrete has proper rebar and it's been properly electrically grounded. It was not inspected prior to pour as far as we know. There's no engineer letter. If a wall is attached to a floor, they have to validate that the floor can hold the load. As far as we know, that hasn't been done. And if there's any electrical, which there is, if there's any electrical, even like a single bulb, that has to be looked at and permitted and inspected by somebody licensed for that. Now, the Batlins know or should have known to get licenses on this. They're both licensed general contractors with the state of Georgia. That's found on the Secretary of State's website. And we need to make sure that this building is compliant with the neighborhood. It's not. It looks like a commercial building. I understand there's a hockey rink in that now. And the rules and permitting process are there for a reason. And we just ask that those things be followed, and they weren't followed here. This was just built, and then people had to complain about it, and that's why we're here today, after the fact, after this building was put up over the course of a weekend. I'd like to give Mr. Kite a couple minutes here. He lives on the corner there. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's James Hayward Kite. I'd like to say that there's a pattern of actions by the property owners that show a lack of respect and consideration for neighbors, county codes, and rules in general. The rationale seems to be it is better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, probably because they know permission would not have been granted. I don't believe forgiveness is appropriate either. There was a code enforcement request 2019-365 in January of this year concerning the fence being in disrepair. Code enforcement determined the fence was in compliance, but did note that the homeowner stated new fence would go up as soon as the weather cleared. However, there was nothing done until a new action, 2019-4178, was filed June 2nd, 2019. On the first visit by a code enforcement officer on June 18th, this time the fence was indeed found to be in disrepair. The portion of new fence which had been built was too high. A business vehicle was parked on the grass. There was a trash pile of junk items and storage items all over the yard. This is all from the compliance officer. On June 25th, it was noted the owner was applying for a variance for the storage building. Officer was told fence and pool would be finished in 30 days. On July 23rd, officer noted fence and pool were both still under construction. Fence was still too high, trailer was parked on grass behind building, no application for variance had been received. August 6th, part of fence still too tall, trailer still on grass, just in a different location. Owner advised she had until Monday, August 12th, 2019 to apply for variance. We know now that variance has
Kite,
been submitted.
Mr. Kite, you need to kind of sum up. You're about out of time.
Yes, sir, I
just want to
understand.
make sure you get all your points in.
All we're asking for is that the building, which was put up with no inspections, no adherence to code, be removed. Any other enforcement you wish to require is up to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. So Fred Burloin represents this district, and I'm going to turn it over to Fred to lead us in the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Belair, can you just stay right there just a second?
Absolutely.
All right. The only objection I heard you state to the structure is the aesthetic appearance of it. Is that your principal objection or sole objection?
No, it's right next to the property line. When you drive past there on the street, it is this giant building that can't be hidden under, a 6-foot fence there. It does not meet what the neighborhood looks like. I mean, this is an industrial building. And I understand they don't have a garage at that house, and I know that the lot is a little funny, and that's not their fault. That's just how the lot was since the beginning of the neighborhood.
So you say it's right up on the street. It's about 30 or 40 feet back, right?
I have not actually been able to measure that, so I can't. I left all my other stuff here. I don't have the plot.
That's fine. Would your objection be the same, though, if it was architecturally consistent with the house?
I think that if it was something a little less obvious, and if it was architecturally consistent, that would be okay. I mean, the comment that was made earlier that we are complaining about this after the fact and that we could have had a discussion about it goes both ways. My parents are very, very reasonable people. They've lived in this neighborhood for a long time. They are a literal cornerstone of this neighborhood. We're okay with adding things to it. We understand they have 6 children. That's okay. The fact that they did this by fiat, they just put this up and just hoped that nobody would care. And nobody came down to talk to us about it. Nobody came down to talk to anyone about it, as far as we know.
I understand that point. Does anybody else have any questions of Mr. Belair before I?
I have one question, and this would be to John. No. John. Did they ever attempt to get a building permit?
That I'm not sure about, Commissioner Williams. In the development inspections comments on the next page, it does not appear there's a permit on it, and if the variance is approved, they would have to get a permit, and the building would have to be inspected to make sure it meets the building code.
So we don't know that it was built structurally to the code. And, okay.
And we researched to see if a permit had been done. A permit was pulled. They did an addition on their house. A permit was pulled a few years before that for an addition on their house, but not for this particular shed that we could find.
Okay. I just have one question of the applicants.
Thank
You can come back up. Maybe it'll be 2. Who knows?
I'll make it quick.
Okay. Can you give us any compelling reason why you have to have dock doors on this building?
There is no power to it. There's no utilities, no power run to it, so why we have to have 2 roll-up doors?
We have a boat, and when the children are long and gone, our intentions are to be able to store a boat there instead of on the driveway. So we tried to make it for future use as well. We did, in fact, we were under the impression the company that put the building up was pulling a permit. We never verified it. They were a reputable company. They just didn't do it. We didn't know that until the county was called. Otherwise, we would have done something. We've tried to be tried to, I mean, we pulled permits before at the house. We pulled it for the pool, we pulled it for the addition, we would have pulled it for this, but we left it on their shoulders because they were the kit company that provided it.
Are you willing to make changes to the structure to make it more architecturally consistent with the home?
Well, I actually want to point that out. One of our neighbors is actually right across the street from us, in fact, has a metal roof that's the same color. It's white. Everyone has to pass it. It sits on the corner directly across from ours. So the fact that ours isn't appealing, but theirs is okay, it feels a little bit one standard. And I do have a picture of it, which you can see clearly from well over 500 feet away. I'd be
Okay.
happy to share that.
Let's leave the roof out of it. What about just to the siding of the structure? Are you willing to make architectural changes to it if necessary to retain it?
What I think would be a better solution besides the architectural shingles or changes would be to maybe put up some fast-growing trees around the corner of the property and along the fence so that they don't have to view it. It's maybe not necessarily the building view itself, but maybe concealing it a little bit better, because whether we have siding on there or we have the metal sheet that came with it, it's still going to be visible. So maybe a better solution would be to find a way to conceal it opposed to changing something about it, because either way, we're still going to have brown siding on it. You can't really tell it's even brown siding until you get right up on it either, because it matches our home.
All right, thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion at this time. My motion is going to be to continue this case to next month, to give me a chance to try to mediate a dispute between the applicant and the objectors to try to reach a reasonable resolution that would not require the tearing down of the shed. But we'll try that.
Okay.
If that's okay with the rest of this board.
I've got a motion, I've got a second by Ms. Williams. Any other comments? John, do you have?
And that would be to hold the case, since we already heard it.
We're going to hold it, yes.
Okay,
Hold it for 30 days until our next scheduled meeting.
okay.
No other comments, call for vote. Okay, we're going to vote 5-0 to hold this case for 30 days until our next scheduled meeting. Give all the players an opportunity to come together with Mr. Beloin and see if we can work something out. Thank you. John, where am I?
Yes, sir. Variance case V102, Keith Smalley requests a variance to, one, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 970 square foot three-car garage, required 100 feet to 28 feet adjacent to the east property line and 43 feet adjacent to the north property line. And number two, allow an accessory structure, which is an approximately 970 square foot existing three-car garage, to be to the side of the principal building in land lot 147 of the 20th District. The property is located on the north side of Thornhill Drive, southwest of Giles Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B102?
No.
None? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Okay, we're going to ask you for your name, please, first.
Keith Smalley.
Janet Smalley.
Okay, tell us which one.
We have a 3 1/4 acre lot, and we are looking to sell, or we have a contract for the 1 1/4 acre adjacent to our lot. And the whole reason we're here is because I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. That's our existing house there. And about 15 or 20 years ago, we built an adjacent garage, three-car garage that matches the house there. And at the time we built the building, the setback lines, we permitted and put the building where the setback lines were what their code required at that time. So where the yellow line is behind that, that side right there, that lot will go to the right, all the way to the Giles, all the way up to the right-hand side.
Goes
If
all
you
the
just go
way
straight
up.
over.
To follow that line all the way.
Other way. Yeah.
It
The
goes all
lot
way
is to the right of that, all that right
whole
there.
area right
Yes.
there.
And the reason we're here now is because once we decided to sell that lot, the setback lines have changed. And where they were 50 feet or so before, they're 100 feet now.
Okay.
So we can't move the building and we can't go over, so that's the whole reason we're
They
here
want to
today.
build their house down closer to our building.
Well, the way the lot is,
They'll get that permit, of course.
yeah, the way the lot is there's more room to build a house to the left-hand side, and they're
Right.
okay with that. And again, all the neighbors around and even the neighbor across the street have all signed off that they're all okay with that. It's just the building is close to the line now, which was, okay at the time, but now it's not.
All right, you sold the property, you try to help out the new buyers, so that's why you're here today.
We're actually selling the property.
We have
haven't
we have a
sold it
contingency
yet.
based on this here.
Yeah, we have a contract.
Yes.
Very good. Anything else? No.
I
Thank
think
you.
not.
Thank you. Fred Beloin is the representative of that district. I'll turn it over to Fred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to apologize to the board and take this time to give thanks to the board and the staff here for their excellent work. And you saw earlier today, and I apologize to you for not letting you go through on the consent agenda, but you saw earlier today that we ended up having issues we didn't anticipate. So some folks in Cobb County have criticized us for letting things go through on a consent agenda, so that it's a balancing act. We try to be as expedient as possible, but yet try to get things right. Here clearly, the new purchaser is perfectly fine with this garage being here, of course, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're still going to have those trees between you and that
Yes.
garage structure,
Yes.
between the property line and the garage structure. So
All that's going to stay.
it really won't even be terribly visible to the new neighbor who hasn't built his house yet anyway, who understands totally well what he's getting into, right?
Yes.
And with that, thank you, and I would move for approval of the application as made, subject only to staff comments.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Now, I've got a gentleman raising his hand back there. What? Oh, okay, good.
High potential buyer.
Okay, thank you. You're a good-looking guy, too. Just stay where you are. I've got a motion. I've got a second. I have no other comments. I'm going to call for the vote. There you go. We're going to approve that 5-0. The good-looking guy buyer back there is happy.
Thank you.
God bless. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. John, where am I?
Yes, sir.
108.
Okay. Variance case V108, Julia Coetzee requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 1,200 square foot carport, required 100 feet to 30 feet, adjacent to the northwest property line. And number 2, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface in land lot 119 of the 20th District. The property is located on the east side of Hill Road, south of Marlowe Drive. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V108? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay. All right, young lady, give us your name.
Julia Coetzee.
Tell us what you want. Julia.
So we purchased this property in June, and you see we have a paved driveway and we have an access road there. We want to build a 30 by 40 carport on a gravel, extend that gravel driveway down and use it for storage. As you can see, the previous property owner had a boat. We have a similar sized boat that's sitting in the same location on the gravel driveway. We want to be able to house it or maintain it if need be. So we'll extend that gravel down and put pavers. I spoke with Donald Wells and he said paver strips need to be there since the existing gravel driveway was there, and we have a concrete pad on the side of the home. Currently there is a camper that is sitting on that concrete pad. Again, likewise, if we need to do any maintenance or services, we'd like to take it off that concrete pad, move it into the storage shed on those concrete pavers when needed. And then we have a riding lawnmower that will go in there and other storage equipment.
Very good. Anything else?
That's it.
Very good. Okay, again, Fred Beloin represents that district, so I'm going to turn it over to Fred.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. So yesterday's meeting, a couple questions came up about the driveway going to the structure. So what portion of that, I just heard you talk about putting some sort of pavers down. What portion of that would be pavers? What portion would still be something like pebbles or?
Gravel, yeah. So if you see that concrete pad there, approximately that width is almost identical to what our camper is that it sits on. So we would do paver strips inside the carport if we needed to do any type of service or maneuvering back and forth. So it would be the same width. Approximately our camper is 34 feet. So it
By
would be-
how long?
How long? It would be less than the structure itself, so 30 feet.
30 feet.
Okay. Now, I also note on this visual we have in front of us right now that it looks like there was a second driveway going all the way back there. Do you have any intention to use that?
So that is all existing when we purchased the property. It's all gravel, and that will just be re-gravelled and leveled. We're having a grading company come in, grading that just to make sure it's continuously level and adding more gravel going back to where the proposed building is.
I think,
So it's
I think that would be fine. The problem is that the first 25 feet off-hill road would have to be a hard surface. It'd be concrete or asphalt. I just want to make you aware of that.
Even though it's all existing?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay.
'Cause
So we
you're-
would, off the road, we need to cement that in.
Just 25 feet off the road. That's the county code.
Okay.
Hard surface,
Would
concrete or
would
asphalt.
pavers
Would pavers,
suffice
'cause-
there? Can't do pavers there?
John, let's talk. John, you've got to answer that about pavers. I don't think we've ever had that question before.
That would be a DOT question, because it would be in right of way.
Would it be-
Okay.
Pavers okay or not? Yes or no? Yes or no? I tell you what, come on up here. We're going to take our time now.
You can stay there, but just kind of step aside. Thank you very much.
Amy Diaz, DOT. It needs to be paved 25 feet from the right-of-way, so that would be from that yellow line. It's not the street edge, it's the right-of-way line.
25 feet in.
25 feet in for that.
And the question was, can they use pavers? And the answer is yes or?
Within that 25 feet, to my knowledge, no, it needs to be asphalt or concrete.
That's what I
After
thought.
that would be stormwater and
Then it'd be okay. We're not worried about anything after 25 feet. So the first 25 feet has to be concrete or asphalt.
Yes.
Okay? Thank you, Amy. Fred, finish it up.
Are you okay with that, paving that first 25 feet, that driveway that's shown there?
It's either she has to do it
Or-
or it's the
or-
ordinance, or
Right.
she can't use it.
Right, that's where we have to go with this.
So I have a question, just a technical question. As it sits right now, if I never put the building there, I would never have to pave that?
That's correct, if you don't use it.
But
But you can't use it.
It,
You can't use it. If you use it, you've got to pave it.
Just the
That's-
first 25 feet.
Just the first 25 feet, and that is
25
the
feet.
ordinance in Cobb County. There's nothing I can do about it. Can't give you a variance on that. So if you use it, you've got to pave it. You didn't like my answer, but that's what it is. That's the law. Okay? And you can make that decision later on. Just don't use it and get caught.
And then my only other question for you, where the structure, where you intend to put the structure, beyond that, there would remain a tree line between you and
yeah,
any
I do
neighbor's
have a
house?
picture of that and of the building if you'd like to see it. And here's another one of the tree line. This is, I don't know if this will be better, 'cause it just shows, this was from yesterday after we spoke. So that just shows the dense foliage we have between the fence and the property line, and that's a current photo from yesterday. Even in the fall, we have those very large mature trees and the existing fence. So it'll be just set 30 feet from that fence line and tree line.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Any other questions from anyone else?
No, I think we're
That's
ready
your
for
job.
you.
That's your job.
We're ready for, everybody talks for me, but I'm ready to go.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to try to make a motion. I'll welcome any amendments as necessary, but that would be to approve the application as made, subject to staff comments, with the exception of the fact that we're modifying development inspection comment to only require that the driveway be paved the first 25 feet back from the right-of-way.
Okay, I've got a motion. Ms. Williams, got a second? No other comments? No other call for the vote? Let's go. Here we go. Judy. Okay, I've got a 5-0, and we are going to approve you with a 5-0 based on all staff comments and everything else. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
John, where am I? I'm finished.
We're done.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a couple of house cleaning things out of the way. I need approval on the minutes from October the 9th and also the November the 12th. Ms.
Make a
Williams,
motion to approve.
to approve. I entertain a motion. You did?
I did,
Okay. Got
I
a
did.
second? Okay, got a second?
Second.
Okay, there we go. Approve, let's go, vote. We're a little slow today, 5-0, we're gonna approve those. Ladies and gentlemen, our business is complete for today. I want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all in December. Thank you.